Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our, I guess this is episode number 2 of season 1.
Yes.
Episode number 2, and we've moved to Thursday night, and we're glad you all found us on Thursday night. See, we got some old friends. I see Kathy Pattison's on there, and Ken Acker, and Tim Dean, and we got folks from Georgia joining in. I'm not sure how they figured out how to jump on this website, but anyway.
Hello, Diane Williams.
Just all kinds of folks are joining in. We appreciate it. While you all are still joining, I just want to kind of update us on what's coming up online from the church, and just remind you that tomorrow we've got the weekly 60 seconds in the Psalms from Tracy. Sunday's our online worship experience, and Tuesday at noon is Lunch with Clay. And he's going through Ephesians, and I think you'll find that to be a really good study also. So be sure to join us on that. We've actually settled on a name for this, More Wild Talk. And we're going to have More Wild Talk.
M-O-O-R-E.
Yeah.
More Wild Talk, yes.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Hey,
cool.
Ethel.
So anyway, we're glad you all are jumping in with us, and we're ready to get going. Somebody named Nick Premu, or whatever. Premu?
Yes. If not, he'll tell us.
We'll have to investigate that.
Sasha. Hey, Sasha.
But anyway, we want to kind of talk about. There's all kinds of talk going on about reopening and not reopening, and controversy about when it's too early, it's too late, and we need to do this and that. We keep hearing different things about the virus and its and how it's the transmission of it, and are we undercounting the amount of cases, overcounting the amount of cases, and then we just have, amazingly enough, but really not amazingly enough, conspiracy theories. And I know you've even gotten a couple calls about some conspiracy theories, and so Tracy's our conspiracy expert. And you've been looking into that a little bit.
I have. Before we get into that, though, we do have another giveaway, as people are still kind of logging on here. And this one is a book by a really famous author. It's actually my book, so that's just how cheap we are on this thing. So here is the question, and that is, name 3 barbecue places in Vero Beach. And Okie and the Bear are behind the scenes, and they are going to monitor all of this, and we'll let you know later on who the winner is.
But get your answers in quickly if you want to be in the running for winning that book. It's a good book. I've actually read it myself.
Well, thank you. Yeah, conspiracy theories. That's something Joe and I talked about, as, you know, this is kind of running rampant right now. I've seen a couple of these run through my Facebook feed, and I've had people ask me some questions about, you know, what do I think about this, because they're wondering about it as well. And so I decided, well, let me just see how many maybe there's out there, and these are all surrounding COVID-19. So I went on and I typed in conspiracy theories for COVID-19, and just all kinds of things flew open. And it was really interesting to see the very first one. It says the latest conspiracy theory about the coronavirus. And so just to give you a few, I'm not going to give you all of these, and we're not going to go into detail. One of those, and this is the latest, if you want to be up to date on the latest conspiracies, Bill Gates is, you know, he has donated $250 million to this crisis and trying to find an effective vaccine. And now that's turned into that he's wanting to, through these vaccines, put devices in us where we know where we are and know when we have the sickness and all of these types of things. It was interesting that I also read that 60% of Americans are skeptical that using cell phone data to track people is an issue. So it's almost like, well, if that is true, then we carry our phones everywhere that we go as well. But this latest conspiracy theory, at least a couple of days ago, there were 16,000 posts on Facebook about Bill Gates with almost 1 million likes and comments. Just shows you how this goes. Another one that I've heard is about the 5G networks that have now gone in with these cell towers, and it's become a real issue over in England. In fact, people are knocking down these towers because they believe that COVID-19 started through these towers. But the World Health Organization says viruses...
That's kind of a batty theory.
Well, it is. And here's the thing. The WHO says viruses cannot travel through mobile networks. And they also point out that many countries do not have 5G networks. And they also are just... And by the way, these last two, it may shock you that those are conspiracy theories that started by people who are anti-vaccine. Another one I found that you've probably heard as well, COVID-19 doesn't actually exist. That this is a plot by the global elite to take away our freedoms. And probably some of you have heard that one. Another one is, this one's really interesting, and I saw this one online, and I mean, it was going crazy. And all the people, I really didn't see very many people who were disagreeing with this, but it's that alleged celebrities who are involved in these sex trafficking rings, that they are being arrested, and this is to cover up they're being arrested, and they're getting out these kids, and even to the point of that Red Cross ship that was going into places, they were taking them out. That this is some kind of deep state within the government kind of thing. And then just the last little one here, and like I said, these are not exhaustive at all, that it's being used to cull the human population by the elites. Or another one I saw is they're trying to cull the aging population in order to save money. And then another one was they're trying to kill old men. So I'll stop at that just to say these things are running rampant everywhere you go. And this shouldn't surprise us too much, because I think anytime there is something chaotic in our society, people have this tendency to think there must be something behind it. So,
yeah, I mean, well, first we need to find out what that age bracket is for old people.
Yes, Joe's 65 now, so...
Yeah, so we need to get that straightened out. But, I think we need to kind of look at where does that come from? Because in addition to the conspiracy theories, which obviously they can't all be right, but there's just blaming somebody. I mean, I've seen Donald Trump is responsible for 40,000 deaths, or some scientist in China is responsible for this or that thing, and because they let the virus out of a lab. No evidence really to support anything like that, but you're blaming somebody, or you have a conspiracy theory to try to rationalize why things are happening. I think it comes from, I think it's pretty obvious, it comes from the fact that we got all this uncertainty, and we want to have some kind of clarity on that, and we have the others out there that we like to blame for things, and so we all tend to have those others, and we have to be careful about when we get situations like that, just automatically blaming the other. Brought the newspaper again. I mean, I'll just read you. Here's blaming the other, and once again, all the conspiracy theories can't be right, and when you read all these people that are getting blamed for it, that can't all be right either. But in Germany, Foreign Minister Heiko Maas this month apologized for the abuse directed at French citizens who were assaulted when they visited in Germany. Racist attacks on Asians for supposedly being responsible for the virus have proliferated. Sorry about that. In Australia and the UK, in southern China, restaurants and hotels have stopped serving black patrons because they are perceived as carriers of the virus. So what you're seeing, I mean, we know the history. Germans have a little bit of history with the French, and you've got histories there, and so those are the others. And then when this happens, we're going to blame that person and just pick on them. That's just bad thinking, but it's kind of who we are as humans. We need to have somebody to blame. We feel like we have to have a cause and someone to blame for bad things that are happening, and that's a problem. And then, of course, beyond the just getting the others and blaming people for something that we don't really have any facts to support our argument, we go to the Christian side of things, and we've got people who believe that, okay, well, the end times are coming. All this, we hear all these facts. I'm not going to particularly blame anybody for anything, but this is the end times are here. And so, I mean, we hear that probably on a regular basis when bad things happen.
Yeah, and before we get into that, I did notice one question. Kathy Pattison, thanks Kathy for the question, and she says, they can't all be right, which I think something you said there.
Yeah.
And then so her question is, none are right?
Right.
And here's the thing, even if one of them are right, which one's right? Yeah. And there's been conspiracy theories through the years, and so many of these things have not been true. And here's something that I really rely on. I rely on the Psalms quite a bit, and I actually use this in one of my 60-second segments. But Psalm 131, and I think this is a great reaction that we need to have. But there he says, O Lord, my heart is not lifted up, my eyes are not raised too high. I do not occupy myself with things too great and too marvelous for me, but I have calmed and quieted my soul. And some of the ones that have approached me, they've been very bothered by it, upset about it. And the thing is, even if it is true, to try to figure out which one is true. But we as Christians, we're not meant to be that way. These things, if this is some kind of conspiracy theory, it's way beyond us, I can tell you that. And so I think that's something that we just need to be calmed about. And that also goes to this idea of the end times that you brought up, because I've had a couple of people ask me, do you think this is the end of times? And it goes with the COVID-19, and then there's all these tornadoes that have been happening recently down here in the South, and you hear of other things that people are going through, and they're wondering, okay, well, is this the end time? And I think the best way to answer that question is just to see what Jesus said about the end times. And we've just finished as a church the book of Mark, and we went through Mark 13, which Jesus is being asked by his disciples. He's just talked about the destruction of the temple, and now they ask about when these things, if you go back and look at it, when are these things going to happen? And they also ask about a sign. And there was a connection that many people felt like there was a sign between the destruction of the temple and the coming of Christ, the kingdom, and things of that sort. So they were wondering, and the way Jesus answers is, he basically says, look, as far as these things go, they're going to take place. And he tells them, look, when the temple's destroyed, he goes on in chapter 13 and in verse 7, he says, look, you're going to hear wars and rumors of wars. Do not be alarmed. This must take place, but the end is not yet. And then he goes on, he says, for nation will rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. There will be earthquakes in various places. There will be famines. And he says, these are but the beginning of the birth pains. And what Jesus goes on to do, and we're not going to dissect the whole thing here, but really Jesus talks to them about, okay, there are going to be some things that happen, and you'll know when to get out of Jerusalem. But as far as these signs go, Jesus says we don't know the signs, and he doesn't answer that question. But what he does answer is how we should respond when chaos happens in our world. When you hear wars and rumors of wars and earthquakes, and that is, don't be alarmed. He says, just be on watch, be witnesses. Is this something to proclaim to the nations? Don't be anxious. These are the words that Jesus uses to his disciples. So he doesn't tell them necessarily what they want to hear, but what they need to hear. And so we look down through time, and this is something else I did a little research on. We look down through the time and we talk about these end times. And these end time predictions go all the way back. You know, I saw one from 66 to 70 AD. And so the Jewish Essenes, they believe that with the siege of Jerusalem against the Romans, or this uprising against the Romans rather, in Judea, this was the final end time battle that was going to bring about the arrival of the Messiah. There were coins that were minted declaring the redemption of Israel. And of course, if you know anything about history, you know that that was not the case. Jerusalem fell. The temple is destroyed. And there's so many of these end time predictions. But one thing that I thought was interesting in all this, Joe, is that between 1346 and 1351, various Europeans believed that the Black Plague was the sign of end times, a plague. And then later on, in 1666, there was the bubonic plague. And because of the plague, and it had killed like 100,000 Londoners at that time, and the fact that it was 1666, 1666, they felt like this is it. And so what I'm saying is, for centuries, people have tried to predict it, and they have just been wrong. And what Jesus says is, look, you're going to know when that day comes, but don't be anxious about it. Don't get anxious about wars and rumors of wars and earthquakes and things of that sort. Really what we see a lot of is God tells us we're going to face trials. The world's going to be chaotic, but you're my people, and don't act irrationally. Don't act with to be so anxious that, you know, you just kind of losing your mind here. So that's what I would say, end times, and we've seen these, I've heard stories about during the times of World War II. I think that was before your time, Joe. Mm-hmm. But that, here's World War, and Hitler was said he is the Antichrist. And then more recently, and these are definitely things we lived through, was 9/11. Mm-hmm. And there were those who believe that this is the beginning of the end times. So what I'm saying is, listen, it's not worth the stress and the anxiety. Put down your computer boards ever so often. Stop reading so many of these different stories, and just read Scripture and read some positive, good things in your life. So,
yeah, and so what we're really looking at is thinking a little better, as opposed to just reacting to a lot of stuff we hear. And we know how the social media works in our lives, as far as boom, 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 and everything's got to be quick, and it really almost doesn't give you time to think, because you're immediately reacting to it and answering on Twitter or Facebook or whatever. You got all kinds of things like that going on that kind of prevents us from thinking correctly. So, going back to what Kathy said, that none of the conspiracy theories are right. Well, the reason you can think that is, if there's 100 conspiracy theories, it probably means there's not a conspiracy theory. I mean, that's just the way it is when that kind of thing happens. And so, that requires better thinking and thinking about, what am I trying to do? I'm trying to blame someone else, and I'm just forgetting about who I am, where I live, who I serve, and who I'm following. The other thing we need to be careful about when we're talking about things like this, and particularly this pandemic, is who are we thinking things with? Who are the people we are, sitting down and helping us think about this and think through this? Is it just random people on Facebook and Twitter and those kind of things, or what? All that kind of stuff we need to think about. And if in fact we have decided that this outfit over here, whether it's Fox News or CNN, is fake news, so therefore whatever they say I'm not going to believe, that's just a bad way to go about getting information on what's going on. So we just need to get better at that thinking. But let's be honest about it. We're in a situation where this is maximum uncertainty, and there's a difference between uncertainty and risk. Uncertainty means it's unknowable what the possibilities are. We just don't know them right now. We keep getting different stuff, so you're just uncertain. We're uncertain about those kind of things. We're uncertain about the probabilities of something happening. We're uncertain about the outcomes, as opposed to evaluating risk, which insurance companies do all the time. So you have probabilities of what's going to happen, and you can kind of formulate what you have to do based on this knowable risk. You got knowable outcomes, you got knowable probabilities. So we don't have that, and that puts us in a tough situation, and it causes our minds to start thinking about these kind of crazy stuff, end times, conspiracy. Well, let's just blame somebody for doing that, doing this or that. So we need to get past that. And how do we get past that? Well, first of all, we just need to understand, okay, we're disappointed in the situation we're in, but it's not our fault. And as Christians, we have things that we can do. I mean, we have things that, we can look at every day. What can I do today in this situation that will be serving God and serving Christ? And approach the day that way, as opposed to, being disappointed that I'm locked down and told to stay in the house, disappointed that I can't go here or I can't go there. That's just the way it is right now. And so therefore, let's make the best of the day we have. And that's what we need to do as far as that's concerned.
Yeah, and I think it goes back to, when Jesus was asked, what's the greatest command?
Mm-hmm.
And, he gives us two. He says, love God with everything you got, and to love your neighbor as you love yourself. And this is just not a time, of course, we're not ever as Christians to be people who are selfish and we're thinking about ourselves. And that isn't to say, I know there's some folks that they're very concerned right now because they've lost their jobs. The financial situations are difficult. Those situations we're very mindful of, and we hate that. But some of the things that we're most concerned about seems to be, of things of the self. And really, during a time of a pandemic, this is when we should shine. Really, I think, absolutely, as Christians, because we kind of get all in the mix. This is a time where we show we're not people of fear and anxiety. That, look, if this thing kills us, then we know where our destination is, and so also just to love people. This is a great time to get out, and like you said, we can do some good things for people who need help right now. And sometimes the greatest help that you can be, because I've heard people say, I wish I could do more. For some people, what they've done is they haven't gotten out. They've tried to to see that curve or whatever you want to call it go down so we can get back more to a normal life, and so they don't put someone else at risk that they may not even realize we're at risk at that point. So I think this is the time that we are meant to shine, and we're meant to do good things, and we are to be a place that people look to for hope and love and guidance, and not to be people who are just running around, as they say, like a chicken with its head cut off kind of thing.
Absolutely. I mean, this isn't the time for us to be marching around about our rights to do this or that. This is our time, once again, to shine in serving our neighbors and being aware of what they need and not endangering anybody by the actions we take. So that's good. Well, I just want to kind of roll it up on my end, because I'm going to be slipping out of here. But I have a great little book that I've read. I really like it. It's called How to Think by Alan Jacobs. He's a professor at Baylor. And I think it would be a good book if somebody wants to kind of basically have a little book club here over the next couple of weeks to go through. It's not a long book. It's about 150 pages. And it's a really good exercise in thinking about how we think. And that's kind of what we've been talking about today, is that thing of thinking. So if you are interested in that, I'm going to have a Zoom introductory thing on Tuesday evening, and you can email the church. You can email me if you know my email address. If you don't,
and by the way,
if you don't get our email address,
yes, our email address is verobeach.church.
That's our website address.
Oh, yeah, that's our website.
If you don't get emails from us,
office at vbcfc.com.
Tracy's not our IT man.
Yes.
If you don't have our email address because you're not a member and you're not getting those emails, just put in the comments here that you'd be interested in joining that book club, and we'll message you on Facebook and give you the information so that you can sign up for that. I'll send out an email, and anybody who wants to join that Zoom on Tuesday, we'll kind of talk more about how we want to proceed with it, how to get the book, and how we want to go.
Jerry
So
said he missed the name of the book.
How to Think.
Who's it by?
Alan Jacobs.
Alan Jacobs. All right.
And you can rewind the video, Jerry, when you get around to it. I think we got somebody joined us from Alabama.
Who's that?
Well, just I'm just gonna not get into that, but
I don't know. Have I seen somebody from
I
Alabama?
think it's Megan's mom. But
oh, okay. Yeah, good.
yeah.
Very good.
All right,
Yeah.
I am. This portion of the show is done for me. I'm going to step out. Enjoy it, Tracy. Next Thursday, we'll be back at it.
Yes, yes. I'm getting our sidekick up here. We call him Okie around here, but he's also known as Payton Menzenmeyer.
What's up, everybody?
He's actually preaching this Sunday, a second part of a series, and you can go on our online, which I did give out before, verobeach.church, and you can be a part of our worship experience there. So I wanted to do a new segment. Joe and we had some disagreements as to whether we should do this segment, but we're going to do it. So I'm just saying Joe has no part of this. This is nothing to do with him. But
Joe free.
Yes.
All right. So what are we doing? What does this involve?
Okay. So I'm calling this gas station food. So
It was in that?
Yes.
I thought that was like a sweat rag from last week, and I took it off the bookshelf and put it off to the side, but it was in there the whole time.
It might have been a sweat rag. But anyway, so I call it gas station food. And
it's the name of the segment.
It's the name of the segment.
Okay.
And so basically I go and pick out something out of a gas station that he has to eat. Now it's edible foods.
Can you say which gas station you got this from in case people do want to go get it?
Actually, I got this one up the street from the church at the Mobile, off of Aviation there.
There you go. So if you want to try it yourself, you can try it at home.
And a shout out to Garrett. I met there at the gas station today. He checked me out, and so anyway, so what I have chosen for you, Payton.
Drum roll.
Big John's pickled eggs.
Oh, I knew it! I knew it was going to be pickled eggs.
You're going to want that because
oh my God.
I wish you could see. It's all juicy in there.
Oh,
this is disgusting stuff.
I have never had pickled eggs, and I've always wondered what they tasted like. But
so the ingredients are eggs, citric acid, less than 1% sodium, benzate. That's good, I guess. Vinegar, salt, spices. Red number 40 and red number 3. That gives it the beautiful red color in the pickle.
Yeah, like a natural egg.
So,
okay.
Can he finish?
I have to eat it all? I thought it was just like trying it.
Well, we'll see.
Has anybody had pickled eggs? Is anybody who's watching this actually enjoy pickled eggs or know how I'm supposed to eat this.
Actually, there was one of the guys in the gas station said he liked it, and I heard that Christopher Leon actually loves these things.
Christopher, this one's for you. All right, my first.
Oh, they stink.
They do. My first pickled egg, right here on live, Facebook Live. Oh.
Well.
Okay. So my first reaction.
Oh, it's red all the way through the egg.
Yeah. It's very salty, like extraordinarily salty, and it doesn't feel like an egg. A little tough, but honestly, not bad.
Really?
I mean, it tastes like a really, really salty egg. That's what it tastes like.
All right.
Okay, second bite, not as good.
Not too bad.
Second bite, not as good. So I think I'll end it.
All right.
I think I'll end it there.
Absolutely. Listen, thank you for tuning in. Hopefully we'll be back next week. Remember,
Hopefully.
it'll be next Thursday, 7 o'clock. Joe and I will be back together, and maybe even something new and special.
Something new from the garage. Or
Thanks for joining.
see y'all there.
All right. That's beautiful.